Safe browsing is something we need to know about if we want to enhance our digital security. The first thing we have to keep in mind is to make sure our browser is up to date. Outdated browsers will never be able to provide you with the state-of-the-art protection like an updated browser would. It gives the hackers and malwares an advantage if you're using an outdated browser. Let's quickly see how we can check if our browser is up to date. I'll switch to my default browser, Chrome, as this is probably the most popular browser at the moment I'm recording this video. So if you draw your attention to the top right corner of Chrome, you'll see a three-dotted menu that says Customize and Control Google Chrome. If I click on that, it'll give me another menu with a lot of options. Now here I want to go to Settings. You see there's a search bar on top. If I search Update and click Check Now, it's going to say my Google Chrome is up to date. So that's how you can check if your browser is up to date. In case your browser doesn't say this, there will be a button to update your browser. So you just have to click on that to make sure your browser is up to date. Going back to the slide. The next thing we have to keep in mind is to get an ad blocker. Many times while browsing the internet, we come across various ads. Some of them are just annoying and some can contain very uncomfortable or embarrassing content. Nevertheless, using an ad blocker can save us from these unpleasant situations. Now let's quickly see how we can install an ad blocker in our browser. Going back to Google Chrome, you see there's a button called Extension. If I click here, it'll lead me to all the extensions that I have installed in my Google Chrome. So we'll be installing an extension for ad blockers. If I go to this menu and open Chrome Web Store, this leads me to the Chrome Web Store where I can search my extensions and install them. So let's say I want to add an ad blocker. So I'm going to search ad blocker. Now you see there's a list of ad blockers for me to install. If I click on more extensions, I'm going to get a lot of ad blockers. So you can install any one you want, but I would suggest to look at the ratings and how many people are using the software. For example, in the first view, I see 55 people or 12 people or 22 people rated these. While they have good ratings, I would still like to prefer an ad blocker that is used by more people. Now, this might be a better example. It says 112,000 people have rated this 4.2 out of 5. So this is widely used, but this says ad blocker for YouTube. So let's try to find a better one. This might be a good one. So anyway, whichever one you pick, click on Add to Chrome and it'll automatically install the extension. So once your installation is done, you can click on this button and pin it here. So you can see my ad blocker has been successfully installed. So going back to the slide. The next advice is to use different passwords for different accounts. In today's world, we are faced with creating many accounts for using many different software or web services. We can have multiple email accounts, Facebook accounts, YouTube accounts, accounts for Slack, Zoom, Discord, and whatnot. And many of us like to use the same password over and over again for multiple accounts because, well, who's going to remember all these passwords then? We have to be aware that using the same password for all your accounts can leave you very vulnerable to hackers and cyber criminals. Because if they somehow get a hold of one of your passwords, then they can have access to all your accounts. Think of it like this. If your house had 5 doors and you use the same lock on all those 5 doors, then that wouldn't be very smart now, would it? So it would be much more secure if we use different passwords for different accounts. The next step is to delete your cookies. Again, this is not the delicious biscuit-like treat cookies, but computer cookies. If you don't remember what computer cookies are or what their purpose is, I would suggest you to go back to a previous lecture where I discussed about cookies and regain the main idea. So while popular and trustworthy websites can use your website-specific cookies to give you a better user experience based on your interests, on the other hand, a third-party unsecure website may try to steal all your cookies that were stored in your browser for their own benefit. Furthermore, this can be more dangerous as many websites like to use cookies for user login sessions. I'll briefly explain what user login sessions are. Imagine you logged into Facebook using your username and password. And after a while, you remembered that you have to study for an upcoming quiz, so you closed the app or the browser, but you forgot to log out. But then all of a sudden you remembered that you forgot to share this really funny meme you saw. So you put your studies aside and go back to Facebook because, well, what could be more important than sharing funny memes? So you quickly open up the Facebook app or the browser again, but this time you see that you're already logged in. It didn't require your username and password again. So it kept your login session in case you came back. So while you might thank Facebook for not making you type in your username and password every time, this can be a potential security threat for you. Facebook used your cookies to maintain your login session. So unless you logged out, your login session remains in the cookies files. But what if a hacker got their dirty hands on your cookies files while you didn't log out? Do you see the problem? So it's much safer if we avoid all these security vulnerabilities and delete our cookies. Now you might ask, how can we delete our cookies? I'll quickly show you just that. I'll go back to my browser, Google Chrome. If I click on the three-dot menu again, this time I want to go to More Tools and click on Clear Browsing History. This gives me a menu of the things I want to clear out. For example, I can clear my entire browsing history. I can clear out my cookies. I can clear out cache images and files. So I came here to show you how to delete your cookies. You just select your cookies and then clear data. That would automatically delete all your cookies. Going back to the slide. Next, we come to the point of private browsing. What does that mean? Private browsing is designed to remove any local data on the web browsing session. That means any cookies a site tries to upload to your computer are automatically blocked or deleted, and your browsing data will not be recorded in your local search history. And other various trackers, temporary files, and third-party extensions will be automatically disabled. So in private browsing, no cookies will be stored, and you won't find the websites that you visit in your history. So when should we use private browsing? When you need to use a friend's device to, say, log into your Google Drive to download a file, or when you are using a PC that is used by others as well, like the PCs in your university labs. I don't know about you, but when I was a student, multiple times I came across a PC where another student's Gmail was already logged in. If you use private browsing, cookies and browsing history won't be saved, and as a result, your user session won't be saved. So even if you forget to log out in private browsing, you won't see your account already logged in the next time. So now I'll quickly show you how to switch modes between normal browsing and private browsing. If I go back to my Google Chrome, I go to the three-dot menu again, and here I see an option called New Incognito Mode. If I click on this, it takes me to a completely different looking browser. So incognito mode is private browsing for Google Chrome. Now here, if I go to the menu again, you will see that there's no tab called History. In my normal browser, there's something called History, and I can see all my history, all the websites I've visited so far. So this is how you can use private browsing, so your cookies and history won't be recorded. Going back to the slide. The final point in the slide is using a VPN or virtual private network. Many times we come across an app or software or game that is not available for our region. It was released for some other countries, but unfortunately wasn't released for ours. Or maybe you want to access a certain website that has been blocked by your internet provider or your organization. So how can we accomplish that? VPN to the rescue. A VPN creates a secure connection to another network over the internet and masks your IP address, so your online actions are virtually untraceable. So with the help of VPNs, you can pretend to be from another country or region and have access to the apps or the games or the websites that you couldn't previously have access to. To use a VPN, you can download a VPN software, use online VPNs, or add VPN extensions like the one we did for ad blockers. So I'll leave this one up to you. To wrap up, in this lecture, we went through a lot of tips and tricks on how to safely browse in the internet. We should try to maintain these as much as possible to ensure a more secure and protected web browsing experience.